Go to the effort of doing that, why cut out the producers conversation?
And why also not have some photos people can refer to that, you know, all that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I asked him about it last week. All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 6th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Harney County Court is now in session. And if you will stand, please join me to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, we have just a kind of a pre-note. We don't have a real heavy agenda, but we got a few things on here. We need to be out of here by 1:50, so I'm gonna kind of.
1:15.
Well, we're gonna
Excuse me.
recess at noon.
Yeah, and
I'm
recess
sorry,
at noon,
yes,
so
11.
I may or may not come back.
If we can get it done, I think we can get it done before noon and it'd be good. So anyway, excuse me, 11:50. Anyway, so moving right along then, first item on the agenda is agenda approval for today's county court, 12/6/2023.
Any changes?
I have no changes.
I move to approve today's Harney County Court meeting agenda for December 6th, 2023.
I'll second.
And motion's been made and seconded to approve today's county court agenda. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item, minutes approval for county court session November 22nd, 2023. That was the primary, well, it was our county court session, but we also had moved the Oregon border that day. And you have two separate
I don't.
minutes for that
Yes, I do have two separate.
Okay.
ones, But I don't have the Oregon leave the border with.
with that one. Okay, so we're just looking at the minutes for that
Right.
court session then. Any discussion?
Anybody had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I just fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes of November 22nd, 2023.
I'll second.
And motion's been made and seconded to approve county court minutes from November 22nd, 2023. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. And then we'll move into opportunity for public comment. Anybody? Mr. Paul?
You're looking rather dapper today.
I presented Rick Paul Burns after I bitched about people not doing it. I did present to you my recorded minutes from the meeting of the 27th. Since then, the governor and the legislature have announced some changes that are going to impact that. They're trying to get the $700,000 for the striping out of the February meeting of the legislature. And in our county, that only reflects Roaring Springs to Fields. But it does reflect some of it. And they are.
Is that in addition to the 19 million that they're gonna try to one-time infusion into the
No,
ODOT?
it'll include that.
It'll include that, okay.
19 million, and then so the $700,000 that they intended to save from that and use other spots, they will be able to do. But the article I gave you that will be in the newspaper today doesn't indicate that. They also are, we're gonna use their stockpile of salts and sands for winter. That's gonna be in the 19 million, so that they may be able to replenish their stockpile. They figured they had 2 years. So that they'll maybe be able to go on again.
And this all has to do with ODOT and
Yes.
the SEAC meeting and all that.
Right. And you sent out a note saying that you're gonna be doing something Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow we have the area, can never remember what it stands for, the ACT, the area,
Commission on Transportation?
yeah. That they have the act, and then we have the regional acts with SEAC, MEAC, and so forth, but they have the regional act for the chairs to present the 2-year work plan. So I'll be representing as the co-chair, representing the SEAC in that meeting. It's just a brief, well, I don't say brief, but it's just a meeting to present the work plan for 2 years, really, for the next 2 years. We worked on the work plan for the SEAC, kept it pretty consistent with the MEAC. And same goals as previous years for the most part. And then I had sent it out. Did you get my email?
Yeah.
But I'd say, okay.
But we had it for the meeting, that we didn't discuss it at that point. We got-
No, we had a previous work session that we had worked on it. So that's what Thursday's meeting is about anyway.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, not seeing any, then we'll move along. First item under old business. Brandon was supposed to be here. Mr. McMullen. See if he's running behind. Hey Brandon, this is Bill. Are you gonna come up for court for this flood letter? Oh, okay. I had talked to you about it last week, but if you could come up and we'll move you down a couple and then come back to you and get your. Okay, thank you. Bye. They'll be up in a minute. Next topic then under old business, we'll come back to the FEMA letter floodplain management discussion. It's part of the remapping, the floodplain remapping. And it's just a letter in the process that says if the county hasn't already adopted the FEMA maps, that we can adopt them. Or
Right. It talks about the requirement to do an ordinance if you want your community to be eligible for the National Flood Insurance Program stuff, and maybe it's already done. I don't know. I just like to hear what Brandon advises.
So the next topic is the request for vacate of streets in the Wellington edition off of the 00 road. We're still working on that, working with the assessor or the surveyor and the clerk's office, and the road department just gave Tammy some kind of direction on that. We'll be working with you, but if you have anything you want to.
Well, the only thing I'm adding, and Tammy had brought it up the other day, is there's, and again, I see that there's one listed, another one listed, and then there's another one evidently in the pipeline that, so I don't know if we want to do those all together. You know, do one resolution asking for, you know, one report, or, you know, be asking one time for 3 reports, and then setting up a public meeting for one date. So that would be my only suggestion is, you know, if the court feels comfortable doing that, then just do it one time and do all 3 of them. But
So initially, we because the first request was from Scott and Nellie Franklin for the Wellington edition. We weren't sure whether their request was time sensitive or, you know, if we needed to move on it first. So we reached out to them and they said that it wasn't time sensitive, so that cleared up that possibility. So we'll, if we can do it, I'll check with county council and see if we can lump them all into one and do one process.
okay, perfect.
So
Makes most sense.
I just didn't know if their request was time sensitive and I didn't want to put them off if.
It didn't appear to be.
And you said there's another one coming that hasn't come yet?
Correct.
Yeah, there's one on the agenda under new business, and then there's another one coming that's not, we haven't received the letter yet.
On the next agenda.
Real quick, because I'm just carrying it on here as old business, the biomass board appointment. The county still has 1 seat. I reached out to High Desert Partnership, to see if they had any suggestions that, you know, for filling that seat. I think in the email I sent out, it'd be great if we could get somebody, and it doesn't matter whether it's the public at large seat or the county second seat that we have that has, you know, some kind of business representation or experience or financial experience to fill that seat. So it's still vacant as of this point, working on trying to find somebody to at least fill our seat, and the board can then, as a member of the board, we can fill the other seat. But we still have a quorum right now and can do business, so. Just a brief update on that, and then we'll go back to the FEMA letter, the floodplain management letter that we received here a couple weeks ago. Mr. McMullen, if you could bring us up to speed on that project and what all that means.
Sure. So, this letter is to confirm, that FEMA has completed its end of the bargain, if you will, in working with the county and the cities to implement and publish the flood insurance rate maps and study for our community. And, you know, for brief backgrounds, the project and the scope of Harney County, the work that was needed to be done was vast. And so it actually needed to be broken up into two different phases. The first phase was completed in 2022. And this next one, phase 2, will be all done in early 2024. In fact, that date is February 8th of next year. That's it in a nutshell. The phase 2 maps are incredibly important to the community. Especially for those who own land inside city limits in and around town. There are significant reductions in the flood mapping. The regulated flood mapping that requires insurance. It's a huge economic benefit for the community. One that I've been working on for the better part of my career. And so I can tell you that as far as my involvement, which has been fairly extensive, we have the best product that we can right at this moment. Doesn't mean that we're done, but at this moment, we've got the best we can possibly have through FEMA. So I feel fairly confident in what has been put together.
So Brandon, in that letter, it specifically mentions that the county, if you're gonna, or if you haven't already done it, the deadline, the February 8th deadline is for adopting required compliant floodplain management measures via ordinance here locally, which will enable the homeowners, the people who need flood insurance to be eligible for the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. Has that been done?
It has. So there are a few moving parts. There's adoption of the map and the flood insurance study so that the county can point to it and say, this is what we administer. And it satisfies our goal compliance with the Oregon statewide planning program as well, so that our comprehensive plan is up to date as much as possible. The other part of that is the development administration part. And that's the part that's referred to in the letter. We updated all of our floodplain management and development provisions during phase 1. And so we've checked that box already. So for the phase 2 map adoption and the flood insurance study that goes with it, we're actually having our first planning commission meeting hearing on it tonight. We do not anticipate having more than one, as it's a fairly simple review, and the planning commission has been kept up to speed over the last number of months and plus years on it. However, if folks are interested, there will be a brief discussion on it, if not a little bit more.
Thank you. Do you think that they just sent that letter just generally is like their big office doesn't know whether we're compliant or not already?
For
that
sure,
They just
it's
kind of
part
send
the
it out.
process. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a formality. I would have expected a lot more communication if something had gone wrong, which I didn't anticipate. We were very hands-on in this process.
Okay, so this, I guess I was thinking that this letter was a key portion of the process that indicated a hurdle or a step or a whatever. Is that the case with this, or was it more
That's-
just formality?
Well, actually, it's both. It is actually a major milestone. This is FEMA saying everything that you've done is now complete on our end. Go forth and adopt it on yours, and we're all done.
Okay.
So this is the more or less the culmination of work that's been put together since late 2008.
And it gives us that official date now, where
Yeah.
before we didn't have that. So
Correct.
Great. Well, thank you to you and your staff, both past and present, that have worked on this project and continue to work on it. The Harney County Community, I get this wrong every time, community planning and development.
Sure, community development. We'll stick with that.
All right. Department. So thank you to, and pass along to your staff too. I know you guys put a lot of hours into it.
There have been, thank you, and there have been county commissioners, previous county judges. So many, the cities can't be discounted in this, their efforts, you know, in staff past and into present, and there's been a lot of community work being put into this. The list is long and I won't list it, but that's in a nutshell. It's been quite an effort.
Any other questions? All right, so we will move on then. That takes us,
Thank you.
takes us to new business. And first item is the USDA APHIS presentation from Shane Coyle. Is that right?
Yep.
Wildlife Services and Adam Kemper.
Yep, so I'm Shane Coyle, I'm the supervisor out of LeGrand. Let Adam do most of the talking, he's your local guy.
Okay. Pretty well know everybody here. Started back in June. So been a little bit of a learning curve with the computer stuff and then. You know, that end of things. What would you like to know really?
Could you give us a rundown on just the kind of services that you provide?
Sure.
I mean, like I know there's crow issues or whatever with power lines, and I just heard you mentioning something about beavers and all that. So if you could just kind of give us a
Okay,
little
so
overview.
Eric called me, what, a month ago?
Yeah.
Down in Diamond, beavers were damming up under the bridges. His road crew had to stop every day, break the dams apart. And, you know, it causes a lot of damage to the bridges. And, so I went in there, took care of the beavers. I relocated them. I've been working with ODFW in different places for putting them around the county. You know, some ranchers want them, some don't. Dick Jenkins ranch down there moving some beaver too, which is helping him because his bridges are between that property. I've been working with roughly, I think we figured about 17 different ranchers around the county on mostly coyote removal, you know, protecting calves, and different types of livestock, petting John's sheep. Pretty much every week I try to meet with ODFW or deal with this wool stuff that's going to become a really big deal. We're trying to stay a step ahead of, you know, we don't want to be caught with our hands in it. This gets bad, you know. So just keeping a good rapport with them, been to the wool committee meetings. Training involved with this new job, but
So services, obviously from what you just said, they're available to both government, public sector and private sector.
yeah,
The ranchers can call you and say they're having an issue or whatever,
Yeah.
power lines, county, whoever.
school district right now, helping them with skunks, pigeons, so the heating system that I believe heats this building in the schools, they store the wood chips in a particular building down here, the pigeons make a little bit of a mess in there. So, kind of got rid of those. It's been a lot of feral cats down at the bus barn that are getting into the bus compartments, so relocating those. Working with, Oak Green Cemetery had a little bit of a badger problem this summer. Tipped over a few headstones. Fix that problem.
And then funding. I think the county's funding this year is 80,000.
Correct.
80,000. And obviously that's not going to fund the full, and there's other funding sources. I had the opportunity to AOC at the Association of Oregon Counties to stop by and talk to the table there, the
Yep.
USDA table. So there's county funding and then there's state and federal funding too.
Correct.
Okay.
Two
And
pots of state, ODF&W and ODA, Oregon Department of Ag. So
okay,
kind of 4 funding sources, but the county puts in the biggest share
okay.
by far.
And then just round numbers, let's say $100,000, just a round number for program needs or whatever. Counties is 80,000, and then the other 20,000, and I know it's more than that, I'm just using a round number, but the other 20,000 then would come from those other pots of money. And when I talked to them at the table there, they said that they'd like to, or you all like to build the counties first, which in some respects is kind of good because that gives us a,
we get billed second.
It
They
varies.
tend to not.
We try to build the state first.
Yeah.
But because it was the first year of the biennium and they didn't get our paperwork quite in place, this year we ended up billing mostly the county right now.
okay,
But we are gonna start moving to the state. We like to bill ourselves the federal in that June, July timeframe when you guys are transitioning and the state is transitioning.
yeah, and that's kind of where I was going to get it. It allows our books to clear out during that time frame and not have to wait for any bills to come in towards the end of our fiscal year. But I guess what I'm at, the program is made whole by those other two or other three pots or whatever.
Yeah, and that sometimes, in the last several years, we've had an opportunity to kind of lean in on some of that funding and try to spread it around as it became available through the legislature. And so, those are efforts that we have to continue to work on with our legislatures, is trying to get more funds available because, especially even with some of the programs, the predator programs that sunsetted in other areas, there was kind of a lot of contention around that. And so there was that extra pot of funding that kind of came in to help settle the dust a little bit with that gap. And, our county benefited from some of those funds. And so, it's just kind of an ongoing thing that we have to keep our eye on and try to, keep securing funding.
Yeah, it's ongoing battle for money, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of discussions happening all the time, trying to find more pots or lean on ODA heavier or try to carve out some more wolf money to put into the program, whatever. So we're always looking for ways. And if we see a particular way or a lean that we can ask the counties to help us, we'll reach out and ask you to, write a letter or come to a meeting and support. So
Okay.
there's lots of little fires being started right now, but nothing that we need your exact help on. But we are trying to lean on these other, ourselves and the state to bring a bigger share of the table.
Commissioner Shellman, I think, has been more involved in a lot of this process, even from getting it started, because it was.
Well, and it's really the NRAC, and we do have a member of the NRAC here today, Merrill Reed, and the NRAC was really key in helping with this. Bruce Rickman kind of took a lot of the lead on that and has been in, contact with you. And, Wildlife Services has worked with the county even when they've gone through hiring processes and making sure that there was county stakeholders involved in those processes. And it's been a good working relationship. But there's a couple things I would like to highlight that we did talk about last night. Is Adam will also be certified to do investigations on wolf depredations, which is a great asset in a county like this with our scale. That ODF and W staff, Lee Foster, is certified, but then we'll also have Adam, who on the federal side can also help conduct some investigations. They also have staff in Seneca that can be pulled in, depending on the location of, incidences. And so, there's some partnership coming to the table at a good time for all of us as these dynamics are changing. And then they also have regional staff that can help with preventative measures that they can pull down to us at times and bring to the table and help producers with. And so we're kind of really getting organized. And then one other thing that they were able to accomplish is organizing between the state and the feds using the same form for the investigative process, which that is a rare occurrence to have those things come into line with each other and be using something that is identical. And so I think for producers and for, state and federal agencies both being engaged in that in the future, that will be a great asset. And so we really do appreciate you guys' help in getting those things in line. It seems like a simple thing, but really that's a very contentious issue when it comes down to it a lot of times. And we've been fortunate in this county to not have a lot of contention around it, but it's an asset to us moving forward that those things will be smooth as possible when it occurs.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're working on a lot of kinks with the state and the process with wolves. So it's getting better. It's going in the right direction in my mind.
Well, obviously, I'm still on the learning curve, so I appreciate you guys coming in and answering some questions for us. We appreciate your service that you provide to the county. And,
Well, and they will, there was a flyer that was sent out and there's a training that's gonna occur up in Umatilla, but at our Wolf meeting last night, we did discuss, pulling in some resources and doing one here early February. And so, Shane and I will be working on trying to pull in the correct folks for that. And, also Lee Foster will be helping with that so that we can have a good training here on the investigative process and things that producers need to know and do in order to help make that successful.
Yep, yeah, it's hard to reach everybody and get all the information out, but the more we can educate the county staff and the producers about wolves, the processes, what qualifies for depredation, when they can ask for lethal removal, stuff like that. The more we can educate them, I think the less it'll keep the contention down and everybody will feel like we're all on the same team. We're here to try to find solutions. So the more we can outreach and educate them, and yeah, we can come down and provide trainings.
I have a question just out of curiosity. How much do you use aircraft or drones in your work?
Aircraft a lot and for a long time. We now have 2 aircraft in the state, fixed wings. The helicopter we use, we bring them out of Idaho. Drones is increasing. We've got several drones. Mostly what we've been using the drones for recently is for harassing wolves. But there's some other uses we can use them for, but the current, I guess, interest.
Harassing them when they're near
It's
cattle?
called preventive measures.
How does it affect the cattle?
Not too bad,
Okay.
no. I don't think it affects them too much. Some of the preliminary stuff we've done on it, just a drone doesn't really scare them. They just think it's a bee or something. But if you can get a drone that has voice activated, you can talk through it and yell at them, then they associate that as bad, it's a human thing. So there's a human must be close up. Whereas cows,
Okay,
they don't
interesting.
spook too much with yelling. I mean,
Unfortunately.
so yeah, we've been using it. They used a lot in the Klamath Basin area. And it's kind of it's not a silver bullet. It's a tool that we want to have in our tool bags. We need to have in our tool bags because you just never know what tool is going to be right for the situation. But in certain situations, it's just not practical. It's not useful. And that would be your more timber and your bigger allotments up on the forest. Because you won't be able to find the wolves. You won't know where to scare them to. But kind of more in the winter or the pasture stuff, the low stuff where you can have a better visual of the area and harass the wolves away.
Thank you, thank you.
Merle?
Merle Reed, I'm on the NRAC board, but I also was, very supportive of this position, and I think that, both these gentlemen are kind of downplaying the importance of their role here in Harney County and how critical that, because there was one time a few years ago that we didn't want to fund the trapper for this area. And I don't have livestock, but we all know how important the livestock economy is to Harney County. And Adam's job is to help those ranchers and help the community. And I think the one thing about the ravens are a critical predator that he's able to manage and help support Harney Electric and OTEC in removal of helping remove the ravens on that. And that's why we went with APHIS, is because they're the ones that have the the chemicals and the whatever, and then also like last year. I know we came to county court and asked for an extra $10,000 for the helicopter, but last year with the severe winter that we had. It put a huge damage to the calving and the money you guys provided. Gives additional support to our ranchers and I think it's some of the people at the south end and some of the people that don't ask for, pay the taxes and don't ask for a lot of help. It is a huge resource, and I think Adam and that position is critical, and just like them calling, if we didn't have that position, we wouldn't, the ODFW will not trap or will not take care of animals, harassment, whether it be a cougar, and that's another thing, you know, between the cougars and the wolves and everything, it's just a critical position that, and when Adam's gonna do an outstanding job once he gets a little bit more experience, but you guys, thank you for your support and of additional funding. But I think that it is something that, we don't understand how critical a position that it is for the county as a whole and throughout the county. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Marilyn. That's an excellent point. You know, it really does tie back to our economics of the county, being able to have these type of services available and, you know, deal with situations as they arise. So it is a key part of what we need to help keep our economy where we can. You know, we have a lot of challenges here in Harney County with economics, and our cattle are one of our best resources that we will have and have into the future, because there are so many limitations on other economic drivers coming here. And so if we can't keep those kind of things that are already in place whole, you know, we're really not helping ourselves. And so, you know, these type of services are a big part of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, you're doing excellent. We get a lot of good feedback, so.
So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come visit with us.
Yeah, thanks for letting us.
Anybody else have any other questions on the topic?
If you ever do have questions, you can call me.
Okay.
Glad we can.
And if anything's ever emerging and you want to get the word out to the public, it's one more opportunity just to, sometimes the newspaper will, you know, they take the unapproved minutes and put it in the paper as they see fit, but that's a way to get it out there too.
Yeah, and in closing to that, if there's anything else we can do, let the court know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Right, next topic is a presentation from Brandy Brandstetter, Stetter, okay. High Desert Park and Rec.
So I'm just gonna update you guys really quick before I ask for funds. We got our grant, so I will be, and I got my office approved. So a brand new office is gonna be built down at the pool. And the bath and shower house rehabilitation is going to happen all winter. But to get it moving, we have to have an asbestos test before we can get construction going down there. And so I called Paulson Environmental Consulting, they're out of Vail. And he said yesterday that the big test that they have to test, because we have those cinder blocks down there, that's what that whole building is a cinder block building, is vermiculite. And so he has to drill holes on the inside and the outside, and then he has to go test for asbestos up in the attic. Since we don't have anything up there that is insulated yet, there's not much to test up there. So he said, right now, we're looking at less than 2,000, but he said, want to come in here and talk to you guys through that Oregon Brownfield program, the grant money that you guys have. You guys would be willing to work with Park and Rec and help us pay for that asbestos test of $2,000.
We have about $84,000 left in that grant. So we do have funds for it. We're kind of in a holding pattern on it right now. I think I had mentioned to you before that we're gonna contract with the Oregon Department of DEQ. And they're gonna take over as our contractor for it, so we don't have to do RFPs and all that. They have contractors that can just send them out, whatever. the holdup on that is we're waiting on the EPA, the US Environmental Protection Agency, to give us the formal award on our cleanup grant that we got. We're gonna contract with DEQ to do both the cleanup and the remaining assessments that we have, but we're waiting on that author or that award in order to initiate the IGA with them. It's been publicized several times that we've been awarded those funds. So I don't know, I need to get with our EPA program manager and find out when that's coming. The last time I heard it was like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been a month now, so. So anyway, we have funds for it, and as long as we can all make it come together, I don't have a problem with doing that myself.
Will that meet your timeline?
We need to get it done like as soon as we can.
Okay.
So we can get our construction present.
Okay, so,
We're still waiting on signing my final paperwork for the grant anyways. So if we could be pushed into next year, honestly.
okay, so can you get me a copy of the estimate on it then?
Mhm.
And then because it's so little, maybe we can just go direct with it. I'll have to check with our procurement. I'm presuming based on those numbers of what I know.
2,000, that
Yeah.
would be pretty easy. to
And if
achieve.
that's the case, then maybe we could just go direct with that contractor and get it taken care of then.
Okay.
Because there are funds in that grant, so let me look into that.
Yeah, especially where there was funds left over from the original amount, that would probably be the best way to handle this situation and get it achieved.
As best as we can.
Okay.
We just have a June 1st deadline we're trying to meet to at least get the whole inside done. That's like our biggest
Yeah.
thing. But we have insulation going in,
Yeah,
piping
your off
going in.
season, yes.
And so we're just trying to get it done. So we're not pushed out in the summer opening the pool. That's our biggest thing.
So let me check. Oregon DEQ is kind of helping us along and consulting on that, so let me get in touch with them and find out if that all works and we can just do it and get it done.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds good.
alrighty.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
This is gonna be some nice additions to the pool and upgrades and everything.
Yes, and I can't wait to have an office down there, honestly, like. I need to be down there. And my office will have sliding glass doors where I can walk right out on the deck.
And that's going on the west end of the building? I guess
On
kind of.
the right end, so there's like some space where there's some open fence there, and it's all just mostly gravel anyways, because that's where they put the trash cans. And so we're just gonna use that space and put a complete office in right there.
Between there and the tennis courts, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. This is great.
And there'll actually be on the side of my office, ADA bathrooms. So we're trying to get state compliant because we are a state park. And they are pushing all state parks to be ADA compliant by 2025. Our tennis courts are not ADA compliant either, and so we're starting to work forward on moving those steps too. But getting a refinisher in here to fix our tennis courts, we've been on them, but they're sinking around the edges. Is gonna be 2 years. So we're trying to get funding now so we can start pushing forward with that too. But we're getting there. Things are happening down there.
So with your designation as a state park, is there any specific funding that comes along with that designation that you're able to tap into?
I just have to put in for grants. It's all
Just a
grant
lot
money.
of grants.
So that's what I just got here is the local government grant through the state parks. But there's still, because we're a water conservation park, I can still put in for funds for that too, either this spring or next fall. And that's what we're gonna move forward with. Also, we're gonna put in again for the local government grant, because it'll be less than 50,000, we're thinking, to redo all the tennis court stuff down there, since we've already redone the lights and stuff. And then we'll move forward with that, hopefully. They like to give less money anyways, or sometimes they have to find that gap, well, we just gave somebody this much, but we only have this much left. So they'll look at us a lot more, especially since nothing's happened down there in the last 20 years.
Right.
And they've given no money to us, period, in the last 20 years. So we have a higher chance of getting these grants right now.
Well done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
All right, again, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Good work, thank you. Next item is update from Harney County Economic Development, Greg Smith. And I texted him to let him know that we were running a little bit ahead, but he hasn't logged on yet, and so he's gonna be coming in virtual. So we'll just go past that for now and come back to it when I see him logged in. So next item on the agenda is a vacate request from Britt. And that is up in Hines in the Highland Edition. From John Britt, property owner at 68,767 Canyon Road, Hines, Oregon. In regards to county easement, I'd like to have vacated at 68,767 Canyon Road, Hines, Oregon. There's about a 30-foot county easement that runs through my driveway. And the easement dead ends. So this will be another one that we'll add to.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer if you look at it.
And
I
the
can't-
terrain doesn't make sense either where it's at. It's like
Yeah,
a
I
big
mean, it's
drop
not
off
gonna
there.
lead anywhere. It's not gonna benefit anybody.
Yeah, just
It
dead
was
ends
just
into the
something
neighbor's
that,
property.
something was platted at the time that subdivision was established, and it's just never been utilized.
Okay, so we'll add that one to the list and be working on that as well. Next item is service awards or recognition. We have, I like to do these on the record, becomes part of the record, and then, but since Eric is here, Mr. Duchella is here, and he is one of the recipients. I will hand this one to you and say thank you for your service to Harney County. Mr. Duchella has served 15 years.
Can't believe it.
My, how time flies.
Yeah. That does.
So
Thank you.
we
Appreciate it.
thank you. As I've said before, I'm a big. I like to recognize people's service. There's different levels of service, whether it's at the local community level, county, state, federal, national level, whatever that might be, but that's what makes our world go around, I believe. So thank you, sir. Other recipients that we're going to recognize today is Barbara Rothgeb in our rural health clinic. She has also served the county for 15 years of service. And get on the line right here, right line. Jason Wiedemann in the road department, a 10-year recognition of service. And Chris Schweitzer, road department, 5-year service. We thank all these people for all these individuals for their service to Harney County.
You want me, I can make sure that those,
Well, I was gonna ask, I've been wanting to get down, you guys get to work pretty early and go out and, and get going. But I think somebody had told me you guys start to gather around 5 o'clock in the morning and have coffee and maybe do your
Yep.
daily safety
Yep.
briefs and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. If that's accurate, then I'm gonna make a surprise visit one of these mornings if that's
Okay.
okay. And
Okay.
I like to give them out myself. But,
Yep.
but if that's okay, and if that's what the schedules look like, you'll see me down there one of these mornings.
okay,
All right,
no, you're always welcome.
all right,
Anyways,
thank you. And
Is there anything else going on in your world, Eric? Things we have to do?
No, just the comment that you made, Rick, about the funding, ODOT. I did hear that this morning, that they were able to secure some funding that wasn't there initially for the winter snow removal, so that's great news. So,
Yeah, that was looking a little
yeah.
sad.
Well, like I said last time, I hate for, something to happen to somebody not familiar with P Hill or whatever it may be, and then end up halfway down that with, not a sand or plowed or what have you. So that's good news.
Hopefully.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, no, that's,
No, other than that, we're just kind of doing some projects that we normally wouldn't be able to do because the weather's kind of held out on us. So just kind of burning brush piles and doing a little bit of blading and stuff like that. So.
Great. Next item, and So the county has purchase cards, and from time to time, we need to increase the purchase limit depending on what a specific purchase might be. And there's 3 individuals in the county, the treasurer, myself, and the clerk, that are currently authorized to call the bank and authorize the temporary increase for a purchase. On one occasion, a couple weeks ago, the clerk was gone, the treasurer was gone, and I was around. But if I had been gone, if it had been, say, during the week of AOC conference, we would have had nobody here to help facilitate that process. So we discussed it with the Bank of Eastern Oregon, and in order to add somebody else to that list for a temporary increase, we had to bring it up and just make it a matter of
Included in
record.
minutes.
Yeah, just a matter of the record in the minutes for county court. And it's been proposed that we add Tammy Adelberger to that list as since she is part of the accounts payable process and is familiar with those processes. So we just felt at this time she would be the best person to add to that list. It would be my intent that we still use through either the treasurer, myself, or the clerk before we got to Ms. Alberger, but it just gives us that coverage in case we need it for what if situation.
Makes sense. Do you want an official motion on that then? Or does it just need to be
They didn't-
captured that
yeah.
there was approval from the court?
However you all
or-
feel. I mean, they just said it needed to be captured in minutes.
I
so-
agree, it needs to be done, good job.
So that's
Makes
taken care of.
sense.
Again, I guess we'll move in. I don't see Mr. Smith is logged in yet.
Oh, okay, I texted Ryan Bailey, his staff, and said, please let him know we're ready early for your or his update, and he said, I'll let him know, thanks, so hopefully we'll see somebody soon.
So we'll just keep moving on then, as soon as we see him logged in there. Next item up is public water notices. Looks like one for Harney County.
Yeah, transfer.
Yeah, a transfer. And those are available on the agenda packet for people to review. And I don't have any correspondence. Mr. Paul did give us a copy of his letter that he sent to the editor. That'll be in the paper, I believe. So does the paper come out yet?
Today.
Okay, should be in there
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Eric.
Eric.
It's actually gonna be notes from the meeting, not letters of the.
Okay. So I didn't get anything else for correspondence in the last couple of weeks, since our last meeting, 2 weeks, whatever it's been. Scheduling. Move on to the next item of scheduling, meeting schedule, regular, I will just meetings schedule, any meetings that we need to list, other Wolf Committee meetings or other meetings that have come up.
No, we don't have anything else scheduled at the moment.
Just as an update as to where I'm going, the French Glen School District, our school board meeting is next Tuesday, and I'm planning on going out and attending that for a casual conversation on that property. The state
So it
parks
wasn't
property.
last night, it's.
No,
Okay.
I
Got it.
thought it was last night. I had it in my calendar as last night, and I
We
texted.
didn't drive out there.
No, I had a bad feeling, and I texted somebody first, and they said, no, it's actually next Tuesday. I'm like, oh, thank you. So I didn't make a nighttime drive for nothing. So anyway, it's next Tuesday, 5:30 at French Glen. I'm planning on attending and just having a casual conversation on that. I'm trying to get some more information from the state parks in the meantime. Communication has not been consistent there. So
Is Mr. Grassley still on that board for the state parks?
I don't know, but at the state level, state parks?
He had been.
Okay, I'll have to reach out to him and see.
He might have some avenues there.
Okay. So just, as a meeting that I plan on attending in this next week. There's that, and then also, Monday, this could be roundtable, whatever coming up, but since we're talking about meetings. This next Monday in Portland, I'm gonna attend the Oregon Business Plan meeting.
Yeah, we got emails on that.
Yeah, and at first I wasn't I wasn't sure how that would serve us, if it was something, and I was consulted with somebody and they said, yeah, we should have representation there for that, so I'm gonna go to that.
Well, otherwise it becomes West Side's concentrated. so.
Yeah,
I know
Yeah.
that, like Commissioner Williams from Lake is part of this group of commissioners that are very active with that, but I'm not sure about any of the rest of our side of the state.
and I have no problem with traveling for the benefit of the county. I just am not gonna travel for the sake of traveling. So, I'm trying to be frugal with those travel dollars and not just go to things for the heck of it. But at the same time, I wanna make sure that Harney County is represented at the table as well. So,
You'll probably make some good connections with some entities that we aren't connected with right now.
so as far as meetings go, that's what I've got coming up for meetings in the next week. And no other meetings to list then or mention?
No, luckily December tapers off a little bit on some of the meeting schedules and everything picks back up in January, so.
And then regular court dates, next scheduled court date will be December 20th at 9:30 for accounts payable. And then regular session at 9. And then January
At
3rd. Excuse me?
At 10.
At
right?
10, regular session at 10. And then January 3rd, and I think Commissioner Doro, you had mentioned that you're gonna try to zoom in on the 3rd.
Yes,
Any other,
and I'll be back like the next day in the afternoon in the following day if I need to sign stuff.
we will hold the AP review stuff for you then.
Oh, boy.
You see Ryan Bailey's on.
Ryan Bailey's on. He's
Okay.
in the county.
Um,
economic development.
Ryan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm hoping Greg is able to pop on in just a second. And I was gonna be here if he had any questions of me. Hopefully he's getting in here in just a minute though.
Yeah, well, he had requested to give us an update. I don't know if he had anything specific, or I would presume he had some specific things. Oh, there's Greg.
Hey, gang. Good morning. Sorry, Judge, I didn't see your text until just a moment ago, so I apologize.
No, I know you've got a busy schedule, but anyway, so we're gonna come back to that item on the schedule as Harney County Economic Development Update. Greg Smith, sir, you have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners, for the record. Greg Smith, Harney County Economic Development Director. As the three of you know and the public knows there, it's been kind of a tough couple months with some of the news that we've received, both losing a grocery store and the word on Rite Aid. One of the actions we've attempted, but I unfortunately have to say I've been unsuccessful, is to try and convince Bimart to sit down and have a conversation. And what I can genuinely say, Commissioners, is we have put a full frontal effort into this. To where, as a matter of fact, next week I'm scheduled just to go knock on their door in Eugene as one last attempt to just see if they will sit down with me and visit. Part of, well, as everyone knows, there, my brother lives right there in the county. And when I was visiting with him about this, he said, Greg, if you want to hit a home run, you get Bimart into the county. And so I've been really aggressively trying. Here's the issue. They've shared with us, one, they need a population base of approximately 15,000 plus. Second, the square footage on the two facilities is smaller and doesn't directly meet their needs. I think if I can really sit down with a senior member of Bimart and have a conversation, I think I can demonstrate to them that yes, surrounding community, there are 15,000 available shoppers. especially with drive-through traffic, especially with folks over in Grant County, et cetera. So I'm aggressively still trying, but they were very matter of fact in sharing with us at this time. They're not interested, but again, like I said, I've got an appointment to be down in that area next week, and I'm cold calling. So that's the unfortunate news that I have to share with you. Please know we know we have to be a key partner in helping to fill some of those locations, and those opportunities are going to be lost. On the Rite Aid piece of it, I had a chance to visit with folks at one of our leading business organizations who represents them, and there's nothing we could have done. Nothing. They are part of a national bankruptcy, and they're going through some liquidation process. And us, along with many other folks, the folks in Milton Freewater, for example, are all victims of what's about to occur. So again, that's part that's not as positive as I'd like to share, but I do want you to know we take it serious. On a more positive note, we believe we have found a very viable solution for our Veterans Village project. That has been an issue of concern for me for about a year, with cost overruns, not due to poor management, but due to inflation, inflationary costs. The project is short by about $1 million to $1.5 million, maybe even just a little bit more, depending upon your estimate and depending upon the scope of the project. Representative Owens and myself have been visiting with them and with the Director of Housing and Community Services, and they understand the issue, and they're working diligently to prepare a solution to fill that shortfall. And so I anticipate in very short order, we're going to be able to report back to you that the uses of money will be matched with adequate sources. So we did receive a nice note from them letting us know that the financing we were able to help put together on that project has been instrumental in their success. And so it's always nice to receive a kind word. We're continuing with our mail expedition. I would share with you, Judge, you were very clear that a good portion of those are getting returned. I personally met with the Secretary of State and the Director of the Corporate Division, shared this issue, and they kind of scratched their head and said, yeah, we know. And I said, well, gosh, you can't be managing a corporate database for the public and for the state of Oregon and have, only 60% accuracy. And so I've asked them to figure out how they're going to solve that problem. And because a lot of folks just can't afford to be throwing away postage because of, the inexactness of those addresses. What we have done is we are continuing to send them out, but we're doing our best right now to try and hand screen the letters rather than taking the databases at face value. We're doing Google searches to try and make sure that one, the business is still in operation, and two, to the best of our ability, the address is still working. How that's going to work out, we'll find out this month, because this is the first time we're undertaking that. I want to let you know we're working with 3 businesses right now. 2 of them are retail businesses, which are startup opportunities. Another is a business that is currently working out of their home and is looking to expand into a physical location. We were actually scheduled to have an appointment this morning, but the entrepreneur needed to reschedule. But right now we do have 3 active small businesses we're working with. do want to let you know, we're trying to fill a little bit of a hole with the Treasure Valley SBDC as right now that space is temporarily vacant, and so we're trying to fill that hole as we can. Which leads me to last week, Ryan from our team held a workshop. We're really trying to get the word out, and we're failing a little bit on that, but we keep diligently working. But my understanding is we had 5 or 6 folks attend, and we think that is, at least a good start to trying to let folks know we're open and still working through things. The last thing I'd share with you is I'm anticipating in March that we're going to be hosting another job fair, this time with the Department of Administrative Services, bringing folks out. Again, it's very similar to what we did with the Department of Revenue. We anticipate a similar activity this time for Department of Administrative Services. And I would contend these are good jobs. I mean, these are family wage jobs with full benefit packages, and they're jobs that can be filled from folks right there in the county working from home. And so while that doesn't put a caboose on Main Street, it does help bring income into the county. Last thing I'd share is we put together a tracking worksheet for the capital projects. We would really love if folks would get their red pen out and be critical on it and say, no, Greg, we need different types of information, or or a different way to monitor the capital projects we have going on. But we have created that, and we're watching it, and we anticipate on a very regular basis we will be forwarding that to the 3 of you for updates and for consideration. Folks are seeing what's going on. So I feel like I talked like an auctioneer here, throwing a lot at you. We stand ready to help with any projects that you may have. We do not want to get out front of the 3 of you. And so we stand ready to take direction from the 3 of you. I'm very sensitive about getting out front of my bosses. And with those capital projects, if you're not careful, it's easy to do. And so we stand ready to take direction. And if at any point on the 3 businesses you would like more detailed information, please just give me a call directly, and I'd be more than willing to share in a more confidential environment exactly what's going on.
Thank you, Greg. I wanted to ask one question. Since we had decided to not have the storefront, so to speak, here in Harney County, have you seen any communication issues with people that are needing services from Harney County Economic Development in consultations or financing, whatever those needs might be? But the way we're doing it right now, or have you seen any issues or concerns?
No. I know folks have been able to reach me. Every chance I get, I'm giving my cell phone number out to anyone and everyone that'll take it. 541-377-0000. If there is a deficiency, it would be we've not adequately utilized radio. And the challenge we're having there, and it's a very understandable challenge, is they're looking for us to do paid advertising, and our budget just is so limited. We don't have that resource, and so we have taken advantage of the free opportunities we have to go do radio shows, etc. But I think they're looking for some reciprocation, and so that's a little bit challenging. No, we're the one thing I'm always harping on my team about is making sure that we're keeping social media up to date. And so we're hoping that it serves as a reminder to folks that we're only a phone call away. If there's been any inefficiency, it's trying to put phone or video meetings together. I'll just be really, really candid. I've probably had 5 video conference meetings since we have gone this direction. And for one reason or another, the client, the resident hasn't called or hasn't been able to Zoom in. And I don't know if that's just because they forget. I don't know if it's just a different method of communicating, but I do know Ryan is doing everything he can to call folks 10 minutes before and say, hey, let's remember we have this call. But, today it kind of manifested itself with an appointment we had. And we just sat on the line for 15 minutes and now we're having to reschedule. But I to the best of my knowledge, know how to get a hold of us. It might be really helpful, Judge and Commissioners, if maybe at some point I could work with the assessor to, figure out a way to put a notice into a mailer or something that, when it's time to send stuff out to folks in the county. But
I will ask them about that, if we can add other tax related type of stuff into a mailer or into their billings.
maybe just a little slip of paper, with our, with the briefest of messages, but says, hey, we're here to serve you. Please keep this number handy. I do know we've been working, we do have a real close partnership with the High Desert Partnership, and that's been a great resource. I think a little, I want to be very, very candid on answering your question. I think with the Treasure Valley SBDC temporarily, and again, I say temporarily, being understaffed, I think that's created a little bit of confusion, but I anticipate that'll all be back in full force at the end of the year.
Okay. One last thing I would ask or mention is, obviously with Rite Aid closing, we're down to 1 corporate pharmacy and 1 cash pay pharmacy in town. I don't know if there's any aspect or prospect to Walgreens or CVS or even any other kind of an insurance pharmacy that, that would take insurance type of billing, something along those lines to help fill that gap for that now. And then,
you know what, Judge, you just spurred a thought with me. You just spurred a thought. My neighbor are the owners of Murray's Drugs, and Murray's Drugs has operations in about 5 of our small little rural communities. Hey, you know what? Later today, I'm going down the street and I'm going to go knock on their door and say, hey, would you like to come take a drive with me over to Harney County and let's go visit with folks?
Because I definitely could see there's a vacuum there right now for pharmaceutical needs.
Yes, and Judge, one of the things I'm very cognizant about is once folks figure out how to fill that vacuum through mail or home delivery, they're not going back. And we don't want to create an environment where we lose such an important industry, because once you lose that type of industry, it's really challenging. So I will go down and visit with John and Ann Murray. Just as a little background, they have about a half dozen kids who are all pharmacists, and they have little operations everywhere. I will personally go visit with them and see if they'd come take a drive with me over to visit.
Great, thank you. On the Bimart side of things, is there other chains that we could potentially look at, Winco or other corporate type entities that, or even, you know, statewide industries, like you say, Murray or whatever, that some of that kind of retail opportunity might be good for Harney County?
You know, the answer has to be yes. What I would encourage is I have absolutely no trepidation of knocking on doors. And so if you folks see an entity that you believe would be a good fit for the community, let me know and I will go knock on that door. In the meantime, let me, start pondering, if we can't get Bimart, yes, is there another type of entity that would fill that void? I'm thinking about perhaps, well, see, you got to be careful on this, folks. You got to be careful because you don't want to create an environment that takes away from existing businesses. For example, I was just thinking about a ranch and home type operation, but I could see where folks would get up in arms if we brought in that type of competition. Judge, let me think through that a little bit.
All right. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Yeah. But I have no trepidation. If you guys call me and say, Greg, you go knock on this door, I'm on it.
Okay. Well, and if you ever need help facilitating any of your clients that are reaching out to you with, technical issues of contacting your meeting, feel free to reach out. I think any of us would be happy to set up a Zoom even here at the courthouse forum and, make that happen if their home internet or whatever isn't making it happen for them. So
Perfect.
let them know that we'd be more than happy to facilitate that on our end.
Perfect, will do. One thing did hit me. We should probably, and I'd need one of you to facilitate it, but we should probably have a brief roundtable with our state representative prior to February, to make sure that, we're all rowing in the same direction. And because as folks know, I'm going to do whatever I can to support his effort. And so let's make sure we're all talking to each other. Because at the end of the day, I have to follow his lead. And if we could try to put something together this month or in January before we head into the 1 month session in February, I think that'd be really, really beneficial for us.
Okay, he and I are setting up something soon anyway, and so I'll ask him about that.
Okay. And I think you folks understand where I'm going with this. I'm the economic development director. I'm here to support the entire team.
No, we appreciate that effort.
I got a couple things, Greg. Appreciate this update. Ryan Bailey has been doing a really good job. I want to say that I have, he has been participating in some of the broadband meetings. Another set of ears, another set of eyes on the stuff, in addition to our contractor team and myself. And occasionally when there's a short fuse thing out of the Oregon broadband office that neither the contractor or I are available to zoom in on, and they just tell you about it, and it's, it's the next morning or whatever, Ryan makes himself available to do that and report back, which I appreciate. Also his presence at some of the High Desert Partnership collaboratives, such as Biz Harney Opportunity, Collaborative, et cetera. He's a good participant in that. As our economic development director and as a member of the legislature, I might call you or set up a time for us to chat on any advice and recommendations you have for me to be an advocate for Harney County on this broadband stuff, because, it's going to be a very competitive thing here in the state. And I was zoomed in for my first time to the Oregon broadband advisory council state level thing and provided public comment, as did our local ISP provider, internet service provider, MyWave, had some comments too. So we were well represented in a way. But we're gonna be more, becoming more active and, so that we don't get left behind. We have some good work going on right now on it, but it's gonna be very competitive. Anyway, all the applications, because there's not enough money to do everything, so.
Commissioner, what I would suggest is, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I would suggest that we find a time during legislative days in February. And I hate to ask you to travel because it's a long ways, I know it, but to have you come down and let us coordinate a meeting where we bring some of those key decision makers, to a lunch, Rep. Owens and I could have a lunch brought in, and we could sit down and have an hour discussion with those key folks. And that way we really, really implant in them the effort you're undertaking and how important it is to the representative and myself.
Very good. I will be in touch. Thank you.
Would you be okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I think it's gonna be necessary. And so that would be wonderful if you could put together some of these key people. But I am starting to, arise up from the ashes on this stuff, and your help is greatly appreciated.
And when we'll do that, let's, I've got, I think, Ryan, are you on the line or is he on another call? Will
I don't-
you
it looks
take
like
a
he-
note for me on this?
Oh, as I say, it looks like he dropped off.
I've got Sherry here. Okay, I've got Sherry here. Here's what I want to do. I want to make a note that I want to have some of the key staff available as well. So what we'll do, Commissioner, I'm sorry, kind of jumping around here, but I won't forget this. We will get some of those key decision makers and the staff that support those folks, and we'll coordinate a lunch.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
I appreciate your time, Greg. Thank you.
All right. This is I really like working with you folks. I really like working. Do not hesitate to give me direction. Don't hesitate. Just send an email and say, Greg, go call this person, Greg. Jump here, jump there. That's my job. And we've got a team of folks who stand ready to do whatever is requested of us. So just want to let you know we appreciate you.
It might be, I know we had decided to forego the CRT meetings. They were getting a little stagnant, didn't have like a main project that we were working on or something. But it might be about time, to reconvene one of those, just to bring the cities and everybody back together at the table and hear what everybody's working on, so that we're not getting in each other's ways, so to speak, and maybe finding ways to support each other as well.
Perfect. Judge, if you'd like, why don't we start the 1st of January and have them every month?
Yeah, the
No?
CRTs were once a month before. Do you think we have enough momentum and things to keep them going if we do them monthly?
How about quarterly?
Quarterly.
Yeah, let's try for quarterly right now. If we start to get into something that takes more attention and more coordination efforts, then we can always go back to a monthly meeting.
Perfect. Perfect. I will coordinate with you, Judge. And we will get that organized, and we'll make sure it's on a date that, of your selection, and we'll get her going.
All right, sir. Thank you.
I do think that's a good idea, Judge. I'm glad you said that. I think that'll be beneficial for everyone once a quarter to talk with each other and keep everyone in the loop.
I have one administrative thing, just, I will talk to maybe Ryan about it as well, but on some of these trainings and workshops that they get provided, it sure would be great if they were really easy to share in maybe a different format, on social media. I know the way you have now, I can, if it's posted on the Harney County Economic Development, then I can share it, but sometimes the real crux of it doesn't, on the person who's sharing it page won't really jump out at them. So, and also as much lead time as possible, because people, have to move stuff around to attend these things. But I do try to share them as soon as I see them, just because they are valuable. There might have been only 5 people at the last one, but they got something out of it, and it was a service to the business owners.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So our next one is gonna be that, if we need one sooner, we can do it, but, our next one's gonna be that job fair with Department of Administrative Services. And so we'll do, commissioners, we'll get mark the calendar out. And then, we'll make sure we try to do 2 or 3 notices ahead of time. And if I hear you correctly, let's make sure it's in a format where we can forward it.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Smith?
No, I'm good.
All right. Greg, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. As always, it's good to talk to you. And I still want to get with you one of these days and hear about your Arctic Circle trip.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna hear from me later today or tomorrow. And let's calendar when you're available so I can come zoom down there.
All righty.
All
right,
bye, gang. Merry
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we've just about covered everything else, general deliberation, anything?
Just some minor notes. So on the broadband stuff, there's different pots of money, different things coming out, a lot of rulemaking coming out, a lot of technical stuff going on right now. But even though it may not get approved if we apply for it, there's still the thought at the moment, and the kind of the coordinating committee of our team, we're meeting December 12th on Zoom to talk about it. But then the next Southeast Oregon Broadband Action Team COBAT meeting is the 19th of December at 9, and it's a Zoom meeting. It may be that Harney County might have a case to make to lay some fiber down our southern route, from which, because that would be the first mile, and then the middle mile and the last mile, those aren't getting funded by certain pots of money. All this, we're so eligible based on our being unserved, underserved, socially vulnerable, and these parameters about who they want to really get broadband to. So it's going to be worth our while to try, knowing that it just might be too cost prohibitive in the scheme of things. We are an very high expense place to implement these things, but we might go for that, and I'll keep you updated. But obviously we will have hybrid ways in our plan, that before all this funding was just, we're mainly going to do fiber, mainly only going to do fiber. They're changing their tune now. They are changing their tune. So keep you updated. And again, this is going to be over the course of a number of years, but the Broadband Technical Assistance Program funding applications are going to open up, I think, in January or so. It's estimated that applicants can get about $150,000, which is what we will be applying for to continue our contractor support. So it doesn't come out of any of our leftover, whatever. So all that's being worked right now. We've kind of moved from the hurdle of just introductory kind of tutorial meetings into really, with that rapid design study tool, putting together some actual strategies, plans, and the beginnings of the application. So I'll, have them come brief us sometime when it's at a more, distinct way to present.
So the rapid design tool part of it, does that take into account, or will they do after that's in place and ready to start being used, an inventory?
An
At what
inventory of-
phase of what our current broadband fiber?
That is already available on some of these, websites. If, I don't know how great they are, but what this does, the rapid design study is available now.
But you're saying it doesn't include that. We'd have to go look somewhere else for that information.
Some of it's included. Don't know exactly what you're talking about, but
Or
when
it's
you
already
click
been
on,
done in the
when you
county.
click
Yeah, because
different,
we have
it's
fiber,
data-
yeah,
it's-
because we
it-
have fiber out to Crane now.
Well,
Well,
and the ESD did a big, grant fund and went out and got stuff clear to Diamond to Crane, They did a lot of
Yeah.
efforts in getting that. already
Maybe we'll have a
underway.
session where you guys can get oriented to it too, for your own curiosity, but yeah, I mean, you can click on these pages, these links. And bring up Harney County. You can click on places that, dots of homes and places that have internet and what color is what level they supposedly have. And then if we want to put down the cost to lay fiber, they have all these variables where you can put in what your contractors advise you at this time is what considered kind of the rate it would cost. But then you can click it higher, more expensive, because in 6 months or in a year, it's going to be more expensive, and then you can see how much less for this amount of money. It's very interactive financially and miles and, these types of things that require me to have a contractor help me work on it, because I'm not going to be designing it. I'm going to get different options that they present. So it does have, if you're looking at, we just want to see where's fiber in Harney County, that stuff's out there.
And then,
And again, we have to remember, this is not just to give everybody a little bit more internet speed or consistency than we have now, or to just get us up to where some of the other places are. We're talking the whole county, and we're talking 15, 20 years from now, where people like us can't exactly conceive of all the uses that we'll be making of the internet. Just like if you'd asked me 15 years ago what I was using it for, I wouldn't have known, that's why we're trying to get it done now, is the capacities for not just today getting us a little bit closer to where everyone else already is, but that we will be able to have add-ons and things done to keep us up to date or reasonably connected in a competent way in the years to come.
okay.
If that's vague, I
Does
apologize,
it
but
talk any in the rapid design study of the fiber that's already between like Malheur County and us and Deschutes County and us, and it be any of the underutilization of that? Like, is
don't
any of
know.
that included in any
probably not exactly.
form? Because I know that there's already, cable that's been ran by different companies, and so we can't utilize the infrastructure that's already there in any way. That would be concerning.
I hate to tell
spend
you
money
that
twice.
the Oregon Broadband Office is not privy to all that information. They even are not privy, because some of it is proprietary private sector stuff that was done, and the state records and processes don't have all that. But we know as much as anybody else knows.
There's
You know,
local
but-
information.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so.
If you go if anybody goes out and chases all that information and can get all that information from it, provided and put together yourself and ask Bryce Mertz to do it, okay. But if you ask the state entities who should know, they should know, right? They say this is the best we have, but we know there are gaps in this information.
At what point in the process will they sit down with all the stakeholders, like our local ISP and our local cable digital, cable provider that comes in here and get their input of what's in place, what they have, what we don't have? I mean, I would think,
They
I mean,
pretty
I've-
much have, that might not be perfect, but they have a pretty good view of what we have, I believe what our big challenge is gonna be is getting some of these internet service providers to start being part of our BAT, to start being interested in even doing any work here in Harney County. And that's why if the plan is funded, there will be money to make them want to do it because they will be getting paid the same good rate to do a whole lot of work here, et cetera. But my concern right now is, if we build it, will they come? As far as we got this plan, we're ready to go, who's really gonna come? And that's a challenge. And because they've got a lot of offers elsewhere as well that are way easier for them to do because it's in a smaller area and they can. Yeah, so we'll see, but I will maybe have our contractors get on our agenda to talk about these questions you have, because I don't know and I should know, but I don't know, except that I know there's gaps, and the fact that we don't know and they probably don't know is worrisome to me.
As the process goes along, we're obviously gonna generate more questions. So, again, a quarterly type of or even semi-annual, who knows, just depends on what the need is, but.
Yeah.
But some kind of a semi-regular conversation where we can then ask these questions.
Yeah.
Might be good.
Sounds good.
Anything else, Commissioner Doral?
You all may have seen some emails, the local community health partnership, the LCHIP, used to be called the LCAG. The funding that comes to the county to administer that work. The LCHIP is based on something I said, based on our treasurer, et cetera, saying if any other partner wants to administer these funds, the county would be pleased to let you. It used to be administered by Harney District Hospital, then it came to the county for a while. And they're thinking about it. So Bill, you have provided the budget amount we have, et cetera. So if there's any more, I'll make sure I forward it if you're not on it, but Bobby Joe would love, Treasurer Heaney would love to let that go to somebody else.
Well, it's not a county program. And while it had to be I think it had to be some kind of a taxing district or
Well, it's
governmental
local and
agency.
that it's a county thing, but doesn't have to be the county.
So, but I mean, for the recipient of the funds to administer them, had to be some kind of a government entity, or nonprofit, because I think.
They had to have certain status.
Yeah, certain status to do that. So the program itself, the county doesn't have any control over. It was a matter of just issuing checks,
We're a pastor.
a pass-through. And the accounting portion of that, because it's on our budget, it's part of our budget, it's a part of our bank account and everything else, so.
Is there an administrative fee that's associated with it that we recoup?
I'd have to look at that page, I don't recall if,
Are you aware?
it's
I think there
minimal.
was.
It's minimal though,
Very
because I
small,
think
it's
the
a small
annual,
amount.
the annual fee for it was $5,000. So it's not even that much money, I think, what is it, 3% for those smaller funds, smaller expenditures, so 3% is not gonna, yeah.
Well, they haven't stepped up yet to say, yeah, we're ready to take it or anything. There's more discussion to come, but if you have concerns,
When you say
for
we're
instance,
ready to take it, who are you referring to?
What?
You said you're waiting for someone to step up and say you're ready to take it.
yeah, like Harney District Hospital, they're looking into it now, but they used to have it and we ended up with it because they didn't want to do it after a while. It's one of these things that for the amount of money it is and the amount of times you have to do administrative work on it, it's fairly labor intensive for the amount.
So is the next meeting on the 12th?
I don't know. Let me see if I have it written down. I don't think I do yet.
I think. I
You mean
wasn't
of
gonna-
December?
Yeah, I think I wasn't gonna be, yes, LCHIP, 1 PM. On the 12th.
I'm glad you told me. I don't have it written down.
So obviously I'm not gonna be here because I'll be on my way back from Portland from that meeting. I will get you though the current balance. You normally attend those, don't you?
Do those funds roll
Yeah.
over annually if they aren't expended?
Yes, yes, and this year they did, and because of their organization reorganizing or whatever there was, and the coordinator, the local coordinator vacancy, whatever the circumstances were. They didn't expend any last year, so the balance was $10,000. And actually I think those funds come through Gobi, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah, they come through Gobi and, because they had 2 years worth of budget, because it's normally $5,000 a year. They basically told them you need to use these up before they start giving them, another annual $5,000 worth. So
they're at a good stage of needing to reorganize.
Yeah.
There've been personnel changes. Kelly Novak, when she worked for Harney County, and the funds were here, she was the person who received, some stipend to do the minutes and the et cetera stuff. Well, she's at DHS and has been for a while now. And, said I.
What do they allow to be expected on? I guess I need a. refresher.
Programs, some local programs that relate to social determinants of health or getting the target audience or the Medicaid people, frankly, the members of Oregon Health Program, to incentivize programs to get them to get their regular checkups and their screenings and their stuff, or the Veggie RX program, which provides some vouchers to help only for these healthy, fresh foods for some of these low income families. And then there were vouchers at one point for showers and laundry for
It's an
almost homeless
incentive
people.
program to try and draw people in to then be able to provide educational, informational.
And medical
services
services.
Of what's available out there. And then the coordinator also received a stipend.
So the coordinator would get a stipend and minutes and things and some travel. Now, most meetings are Zoom for the regional and the state level. We're part of Eastern Oregon Coordinated Care Network. We're one of the 12 counties that come under Eastern Oregon. But it hasn't had. It doesn't have some of the same people in the key roles as it did, so it's a good time to revisit everything, and I'll talk to Treasurer Heaney some more to be sure I understand the full realm of the burden, if you will.
I know from my conversations with Treasurer Heaney, and at the county level, whatever they come up with, the county is willing and able to help facilitate
I mean, if they end up saying
transition.
nobody wants to take it, we'll continue to do it, but
there isn't a person in charge of it unless we put a person in charge of it, is what you're really driving at.
well, Gobi has paid staff that are the facilitators, and
But
they come
it's
down
not
for
being
these meetings.
spent, so.
But that comes from their paychecks, from being a Gobi employee.
But who on the ground here should be dedicated to make sure those funds are being expended is what I'm getting at. You said there's a vacancy there. Is it the county's responsibility to get that vacancy filled? Is it Gobi's responsibility?
It's the group, the LCHIP group,
Yeah, the
that
LCHIP, the
is-
local.
led by a Gobi employee.
Government at its best.
Greater Oregon Behavioral Health.
All right, but, I know that y'all have some commitments for this afternoon, so moving along, you have anything else? Commissioner
I
Doyle?
don't think so. No.
Commissioner Shellman?
Just a brief update on Wolf Committee meeting last night. Applications were received. All applications that were received got approval for funding. So I've worked with Treasurer Heaney to coordinate that effort. And so I'll be submitting those for them. We'll create vendor numbers for each of the applicants and proceed with that. And then there's, I'm going to be maybe working with Tammy. We'll see how much I can squeeze out of her before she leaves. In posting a couple vacancies on some boards, and just some of the positions on some of the boards are coming up for renewal. And so there's 2 positions on the Fair Board that are coming up for renewal. One of them is planning on re-upping if possible, and then the other one is not. And then, I think I need to deal with the NRAC stuff, looking at those dates. So I'm gonna go over all the boards that I'm working with and making sure that we're teed up, a lot of them. And December 31st, and we have to reappoint as of January, so I'll be working on that. There was one other. Geez. I was gonna post two things. Oh, there is a member of the Wolf Committee that was a Wolf advocate, not our one that we just appointed, but the other one that is not gonna continue in that capacity, and so that will be the other one that will be posted as a vacant board position.
I think we've gotten away from it a little bit. I'd like myself, and just for discussion here, but I would like to see letters of interest come through the county court first for review myself. These are boards and things that are either advising the county or, you know, in the fair where they have a, you know, a lot of capital project responsibility, whatever. But to have that come through the court itself for review and decision on versus just being presented with a single applicant for appointment. I mean,
Well, sometimes we've only had a single.
well, and that's true, but,
Frequently.
and that's true, but
As you know, volunteers are
I,
slim pickings.
yeah. But,
Look what Merle gets tasked with all the time.
is that
Yeah,
agreeable?
I'll be setting a deadline for the end of December to try to receive those so that we could look at them potentially even the January meeting and then potentially make appointments for the following January meeting.
Okay.
But there's, I don't know, like, as far as the planning commission, if there's any vacancies that, you know, like, we're gonna kind of put some out there that end at the end of December, if there's any other boards that.
I'll
have
look,
those
I'll look
kind
at
of
mine. I don't think
timelines.
there's too many on mine coming up, but I'll review. the
Okay.
dates.
And then even with the biomass position, I was wondering if you wanted that included as we kind of put out a post with multiple
Yeah,
vacancies
that
and
might be
things we're
good.
trying
That might be
to,
really good.
you know, sweep some volunteers for. If, you know, we have a post in the paper, if we could try to make it kind of as encompassing as possible with vacancies.
Yeah.
Then it kind of be a single effort. Make it the same for everybody, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then they
We've got
know
this, yeah.
countywide, here's some opportunities that are open.
But we had previously discussed about having interested parties that are interested in volunteering for these various boards. Appear before court, and I know sometimes our daytime hours are not conducive to people's work schedules, so
We
I'm
could
I'm
do
open
an
to
evening meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, to accommodate some of that.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that we need to maybe take into consideration
Absolutely.
with some of these appointments is working with people's work schedules.
So I just like, but I wanted to mention it again, that I'd like to head back to that. And I think the court did it before in the past, but I'd like to.
Well, it
head
used to
back
be
that.
all letters, whichever, you know, a committee or board, letters of interest came to the executive assistant either by email or, you know, by snail mail, you know, and that was the central point for any of the committees. And then,
But with a vacancy there, I would feel comfortable with having that be for, I think, whichever boards have liaisons or contacts, we need to make sure whatever current staff is available for this situation, that we're gonna have a vacancy unless you already have a refill.
do you have a
in
quorum?
mind.
Do you have a quorum at the, when
Yeah.
that vacancy happens?
Yeah,
Okay,
There's always,
all right,
that's how they
just-
stagger them, so you don't lose your quorum.
okay, so.
And then
But I
there's
just-
there's some on the NRAC that I know that'll need renewed or potentially even refilled depending on people's interests.
Yeah, I'd just like to see all of the letters of interest, you know?
I've never not shared them if I had a letter
Well,
of
no, I'm
interest.
not saying you have,
I'm
but I
just
would
saying
just,
it's
I'd like to narrow down a
very
process.
few
that it-
people that apply for openings, or
Yeah.
anything.
I'm just trying to narrow down a process that makes sure that we're,
I guess the one
Mhm.
thing, does the biomass board feel comfortable, like we could post the county one, but do they want the public at large one included? You might ask them
Yeah.
and, you know, when we're going to this effort, 'cause we'd have till Friday to get it to the newspaper, correct? So if we had something kind
I
of teed
will.
up, so we could, like I say, I can check with Brandon on the planning commission board to see if he has anything that he wants.
I'll send an email to the other 2 board members for the biomass and see if they're agreeable to having us post 2 vacancies on,
Is there any other vacancies maybe that you're aware of any other boards that were kind of the budget committee?
Need one. It's always, so.
Okay,
That's what I would just need a real clean list of what we.
yeah, if we can.
Do you
try
have a
to-
list in your
I've
database?
started a list, but some of the dates were old
Okay.
and not right, so I don't know what's. good
Okay.
and not.
well, like the fair board, there had been some turnover, so with,
Yeah, so they
President
fill
Burr.
each other's terms.
yeah, he's filling the vacancy that so his term is based on the previous person's.
And
Right.
that's the same on all dates, that you always backfill whoever else's term that you step into.
Commissioner Shulman, could you, in a future meeting, maybe the next meeting, just give us
Excuse me.
either yourself and your Wolf Committee Chair, whatever, just brief us on, we had X number of applicants, they were awarded, these are the types of mitigation things that they'll be doing with this funding or whatever. I just appreciate that being an agenda item.
Yeah, he could probably come, that'd be Mr. Bentz, so.
You or him, whoever just is a,
Oh, I think that he wasn't at the meeting last night, Michael Doman chaired the meeting last night for us. so.
okay. I appreciate that. I mean, their advisory does, I know
No,
he
they're,
keeps us informed, but you know, they can just say this is,
well, and hopefully
was
by
our
then we
process,
would
this is
have
what we're
some
doing.
information on the upcoming training that we're
okay,
trying to provide, because we'll want to start networking that out as much as we can
good.
once we have that date secured.
And then what's heavy on my mind and many people's mind are, of course, the groundwater situation in Harney County. The Division 512 Rules Advisory Committee, Commissioner Shellman's one of the members there. You know, there's a lot of things that will impact our future related to all that. And I appreciate the 4 people that I think of on the RAC that often do make comments at those meetings. I'm just a member of the public when I attend, but I'm not hearing a whole lot of, yet maybe it's the next meeting that there will be a lot more of the committee member discussions and stuff, but I sure would hate to see the whole basin only have one set of rules for curtailment and other things. I hope that the sub-basin approach will be honored as the rules are, but there's pushback, you know, from people who don't live in Harney County not to do that. So I just wanted to mention that as something that's on my mind.
There's, and I want to take your turn here, but since you were at the NRAC last night? Did you
No,
attend?
we had a Wolf Committee meeting instead of the NRAC.
Oh,
so
okay,
All those members were invited to that meeting.
okay. Well, one thing that I wanted to ask, and I don't know if it's been discussed anymore or not, is the Federal Register notice from February on the Department of the Interior's intent to include conservation as one of the multiple use, the rulemaking thing. Has there been any more talk on that? Number one, and then also, I think we were all 3 on that email from Mr. Bonner. Is that
Donor,
on the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange,
to that.
looking at creating natural
Resource conservation as a marketing.
yeah, as a
share.
trading thing to be able to trade. I myself see that as co-related to the conservation element
It's a
in
direct
multiple
correlation.
in multiple use as entities being able to have a way to generate capital to go out and buy ranches and leases and everything else and start to lock us out of our public lands.
Yeah, I raised it to Congressman Bence's office and they said, once they had some more information, they were gonna look into it and get back to us, so. Once I get that response, I can share that, but
Very
that's
concerning.
at his level, and that intersects with some of his committees, and so hopefully he's already aware of it, and if not, he is now. to kind of give us some feedback on that, because that is super concerning when you see them try to figure out how to accomplish some of those things that we were already nervous about.
The only thing I'm not sure about, and it seems like a shell game or a Ponzi scheme, is where do they, anybody who's gonna invest in something wants a return. So how are they gonna make revenue or return off of those kind of purchases? I don't see that part of it.
There's a disconnect in my mind.
Yeah.
So.
But when I read that article, I was very concerned. Those kind of issues, along with the water resource issues, could devastate Harney County.
I can, well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
well, if
I-
if they go through, they could, or, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
Or will if
unless,
they go
unless
through.
there's a path to stop them, and that's been part of the problem is, even this current administration, that's how that was written into rules, and there's, you know, a lot of pushback, especially the state of Wyoming's probably doing the best job of pushback as far as the conservation piece. But then they also got hammered by some additional stuff on some Wyoming specific that they're actually suing the feds over, that kind of fed back into that same thing that all of us got encompassed in, and so it's it is not a good path, but once they crack that door, it's a lot harder to shut, and they've got it cracked open, so.
I was very new in office, the last weird, whatever the WIR.
Western Interstate Region for NACO.
Yeah, when they had their conference this year. But next year, it might be very beneficial to make sure we have somebody from Harney County go to that.
That's a good forum. I've only went the one time it was nearby at Sun River. You know, they're usually in other states but you learn a lot, you network a lot, and you get some presentations you won't get anywhere else, so.
Yeah, and I talked to Judge Joyce about that. He's, you know, chaired it for our region for a period, and they do what they can, where they can.
I know, but most definitely not the time with the things that are going on for us to sit back and wait, but.
Well, and the Public Lands Council is also very heavily engaged in it, and I read through their emails daily to kind of try to stay abreast of what's happening on their end. I find that they're actually super informative and, you know, kind of maybe ahead of some of these other groups, actually, of their engagement and trying to stop some of this.
And I know that's a lot of your focus is our natural resources stuff, and I appreciate that. So thank you for staying up on that.
Well, Division 512, there's a lot of meetings other than the meeting that take place, and I'm involved with all of those, with Representative Owens, and you know, trying to ensure that we're able to achieve some voluntary agreements and not just curtailment is the key focus of a lot of those efforts.
So I already mentioned for myself, I'm gonna try and get out of here in the next couple minutes. Mentioned for myself, meetings coming up, French Glen and the business plan meeting in Portland. I don't have anything else meeting wise, you know, just busy stuff going on at the county level all the time. Anything that we've been dealing with, well, we're working on the vacating stuff. What else have we been working on? My brain clouds when I,
Your ongoing Brownsville
Yeah.
engagement.
yeah. Oh, the B Street expansion is progressing. There's a agreement in there that I gotta get reviewed and get to county council for that stuff to start going out for bid shortly. They, like everything else, like all projects, shortfalls in funds for the total project, like everybody's experiencing, whether it's the Veterans Village or whoever. They had to scale back the project to get the infrastructure in the ground and build the street, but they had to pull off the asphalt and the curbing for the time being, just to get things going. And
It
they're
could be a secondary request.
Yeah.
Once the project's underway.
so that's moving along.
So who, like, are you working directly with McMullen on that? Who are you working with?
Brandon and I are engaged in the meetings. The city of Burns has retained, because it's gonna be their infrastructure. The infrastructure, the water, the sewer, everything becomes theirs after this is all done. It's just that the county received the funding to get it to our our industrial property. So the city has retained Nick Green, and they're running through all the contracting and procurement and agreements and everything. So we're working with them. And it's kind of for this portion of it, it's a collaborative between the city and the county. But future, as it develops out, it's a private sector, public sector collaboration as well as the Miller Springs starts to evolve. So anyway, that is work, it's coming along pretty quick too, really. I think they should be looking at probably starting to put some stuff in the ground come spring. Which will make, the sooner we get our property up and available and interested to somebody to come in and maybe put a business in of some kind out there.
Have you heard any more on the property sales piece? That's being
Oh,
litigated at the state?
No, they were gonna put together a work group, but I haven't heard any more about that. And, at this point right now, we got a draft from. Was it Jackson County? I don't remember. There was a county that come up with a somewhat of a plan to kind of deal with it, but it mostly just, there was not much there. I think what we really need to do is, probably make a decision to have a moratorium on any future land sales or requests to sell. Because potentially what could happen.
Because we can't sell them under value to not have a lot of other income received off of them.
Yeah.
That puts us in a
And-
catch 22.
Excuse me, I'm gonna need to excuse myself here. I don't know if you all are gonna be talking on for a while.
Real quick, like, so what the potential is that if we sell a piece of property for $10,000. And then that gets divvied up amongst all the taxing districts. If somebody then comes back and makes a claim, a past owner or heir even, comes back and makes a claim for the residual of what was foreclosed, if our foreclosure amount was $1,000, then we have a residual of $9,000. Now, out of that, they haven't nailed down yet either what we could keep for fees we could keep. They haven't decided what's gonna be reasonable for that. So potentially we have now $8,000 hanging out there that could be residual funds that somebody could come and make a claim against. If we've already distributed that amongst all the different taxing districts, that creates a pretty heavy load for everybody then to give it back. So I think until the legislature picks it up and makes a decision on how Oregon itself is gonna regulate it, we would probably, it's not a make or break thing really anyway, but we probably ought to just look at a moratorium on any applications for land sales.
And just to remind you, you had me put it on the agenda for your next county board meeting to discuss this.
Oh, did we? Okay.
So you can talk about that.
Okay. Hopefully by then we'll have an inch further.
So I don't have anything. If nobody else has anything, we shall stand adjourned at. What time is it?
Thank you.
11:58 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Mary Lee.